In my opinion, you guys have a harder road to go through than I did. For me, it was really easy. There was a lot of jobs, economy was booming and all this, and it was easier. So you guys have got to be smarter. Okay, so as far as the subject of debt, there's good debt and bad debt. There are many people in my position, so-called financial gurus, who say live totally debt-free. And there's other people who say cut up your credit cards. And that's good advice for certain types of people. So you should definitely cut up your credit cards if you don't know, you can't control your spending. You should definitely. But I don't know how people live without credit cards. I don't know how you can check into a hotel, rent a car, or go shopping and go out for dinner, but you should cut up your credit cards if you're a shopaholic. That's good advice. And the other thing about debt, there's good debt and bad debt. Today it's harder because you don't know what is this mysterious high-paying job. And even lawyers today are having a hard time because they don't need that many lawyers, which is a good thing. And there's artificial intelligence, which is replacing a lot of the high-end jobs. Like even accountants today, they don't need accountants because artificial intelligence can do a lot of the work for them. So that's why for your generation, student loan debt, I would say, is possibly one of the most important things you need to decide before you take on the debt. And number one, are you going to graduate? And number two, what are you going to graduate as? If you only have bad debt, which I classify student loan debt as bad debt, the main reason it's bad debt is because it's the worst possible type of debt. You see, if I get into trouble as a businessman with debt, I can declare bankruptcy and I'm clean. But the trouble with student loan debt, you can't do that. It hangs around your neck for the rest of your life. So if you're a student, you shouldn't take on student loan debt unless you absolutely 100% guaranteed that you will commit to graduating. So have you seen a lot of kids drop out of school?
Oh, yeah.
And so the problem with student loan debt is a person has to know what are they going to study. I have two friends, they're both medical doctors, and they came out of school with $500,000 in medical debt, in student loan debt, but they paid it off in 5 years because they're medical doctors. They had high-paying jobs. And so they delayed having families and all this, and the whole objective was to pay for becoming a doctor. I was pretty clear when I was about 15, I wanted to sail the seas. I sailed huge ships, throughout the world. But that was a dream of a kid. And by the time I was 22, I was tired of it. I didn't want to sail the world anymore. So I understand, what it's like to keep, what they call it is finding your way in life, right?
Yeah.
That's not easy. Let's say I'm going to buy, everybody says I'm going to buy a house, and everybody says my house is an asset. That's not true. Your house is a liability. I don't care if you have no debt on it or not. A house is a liability. Same as if you have a car. A car is a liability. And the reason for that is, as we talked about earlier, the 6 words that are basics of financial education, financial intelligence: income, expense, asset, liability. And the 2 other words are cash flow. So when you look at the average person, they have a job, money comes in here, they pay for their house, and the money goes to a bank through a mortgage. So it's not an asset because the cash is flowing out, so it's a liability. So the definition of liability, does it take money from your pocket? And for an asset, does it put money in your pocket? So when I have a rental property here, it puts money in my pocket. So if I live in the house, it's a liability, because even if I have no debt on it, I still have taxes, depreciation, repairs, and upkeep, insurance, and all this. When I rent a property, I've done a good job buying it and structuring it. Every month it sends me money. It's nothing to do with the house, the car, the student loan. It has to do with where's the cash flowing. If the cash is flowing into your income statement, into your pocket, it's an asset. It's good debt. But if it's taking money from your pocket, it's bad debt. About debt, there's good debt and bad debt. If you're going to be successful, whether you're an employee or entrepreneur, you've got to control the direction of your cash flow. First property there, it was in Maui, Hawaii in the 1970s. I bought it with a credit card.
Wow.
Property was $18,000, my first, but I've taken several real estate classes. And so I knew what to look for. I found this one property. It took a long time. When I found it, I just broke out my credit card and bought it, and it put $25 in my pocket. It went from this little dinky little thing, this was years ago, $25. It was good debt. I wish I never sold it. It was a big mistake to sell it, because today it's probably worth $400,000 or $500,000, and that's a whole nother story. That's why I don't flip properties. I don't like to do that stuff.